does the testing. So a pen tester gets paid for his time, not for the vulnerabilities he discovers. So it's a very different kind of role. And I also do a bit of security research, or at least I used to do a bit of security research. I found like some design level vulnerabilities in Adobe Flash Player and Internet Explorer. Anybody here has heard of Google Gears? No? You guys would probably have been in your high school when Google Gears was launched and it was taken off. Google Gears was in some sense the precursor to HTML5. So Google introduced this, Google had this idea for adding new functionality to the web. So what they did was they added it to Google Chrome browser as Google Gears. And later on, a lot of these ideas got implemented as an open web standard, which is what is called as HTML5 right now. So I've done a lot of research in Google Gears. I've published a research paper in that. And since HTML5 was kind of related to Google Gears, I did a lot of work on HTML5 as well. I created a bunch of tools related to HTML5, and I spoke at Black Hat back in 2010. I was probably one of the first people to do research extensively on HTML5 and speak about it. And then I've also done a lot of research from browser level security. I've published some of them, and one of those researchers or one of those hacks actually got picked up as one of the top 10 best hacks of 2010, I guess, across the industry. And I also write a lot of tools, security tools. There is one called as Imposter. It's a tool which acts like a fake Wi-Fi device. For example, you're all seated here, and maybe if you're bored, you want to connect to a free Wi-Fi and you want to do some internet browsing, right? So this is a tool which sets up a fake Wi-Fi, and when you connect to this Wi-Fi and you try to do your regular browsing, it tries to steal files from your local hard disk using the IE and Flash Player 0-day I discovered. It steals all the emails from your Google inbox. It steals all your MySpace. MySpace was the old social networking site before Facebook. So it steals all your MySpace inbox messages, and it also sets a permanent backdoor in your MySpace account. So that you leave this Wi-Fi, and every time you go log into MySpace again, I'll get access to your MySpace account. And it also does a bunch of other bad things. This was the first serious security tool I wrote. And after that, I wrote a tool called Shell of the Future. This is a tool which primarily does something called as session hijacking. So it lets you hijack another person's browsing session. If someone's browsing Gmail, for example, this tool lets you hijack their session. So from your browser, you can actually browse their session, right? So that's kind of what it does. And I wrote another tool called JS Recon. Anybody here has heard of port scanning? Yeah, so port scanning is the process of finding out what are the open ports on a particular system. Port scanners are usually low-level software. They use libraries like libpcap and so on. They're written in C, C++. I wrote a port scanner which is entirely in JavaScript, and it runs from your browser. So if you just come visit my website, simply from your browser, I'll be able to do a port scan on a machine, and I can also do network scans. I can identify what is the private IP of your machine. And then I wrote a tool called Raven. It's a distributed password cracking system, again written entirely in JavaScript. I believe you would have read about distributed computing as part of your curriculum, I guess, right? So distributed computing is a very smart concept, but a major problem with distributed computing is, getting nodes where you can actually offload your work. So I kind of tried to solve the problem by creating the distributed computing network in JavaScript. So all that you had to do was just send a link to somebody. The moment they click on the link and they load the page on the browser, they automatically become a node in your, in your distributed network. So let's say you wanted to crack a complicated password, and if you are going to crack from a single machine, if it takes you say 1,000 days, then if you distribute it across say 1,000 nodes, as in like you create a link and then you send this link, you post this link on Facebook or something, and 1,000 of your friends click on this link, and everybody has this page open parallelly, then this 1,000 days work can be done in a single day, right? Because you've distributed the load across 1,000 different nodes. And I also wrote a tool called Havas. This is like the actual full form of the tool. It does analysis of your web applications to discover some security problems. And so this is, I got quoted in Forbes for the HTML5 research work I did. And the thing that I'm most, probably the thing I'm known for most recently is this project called as IronWASP. It's a web application security scanner. It's a tool which can automatically scan a web application and discover security problems in it. It is an open source project which was started about 4 years back, and currently it's Asia's largest open source security project, and has about 1.2 lakh lines of code and everything. It was rated as one of the best web security scanners in the world, by comparative studies which was done by other people. And now I have started a product-based startup which tries to create a commercial product which solves some security problems which are currently unsolved in the industry. We won an award from Lockheed Martin and everything. So that's kind of a brief introduction about myself. And now we'll actually jump into the topic of WebSocket security. So this talk is largely going to be demo-based. Now, the projector itself is not very clear, so I do not know how much of these demos you guys are actually going to see and understand. But we'll go with it and see how it goes. And if you guys have any questions, you don't understand anything, you could always stop and ask me. Or if you're too shy or too sleepy to do that, after the talk you can come up to me and you can ask any questions. So I've got a demo application which uses WebSockets and it has some vulnerabilities. So I'll just quickly set it up. Okay, so most of you are familiar with HTTP, but have any of you actually seen a HTTP traffic? How many of you have actually seen HTTP traffic generated by your browsers? Okay, cool. Can anybody say how you actually saw the traffic? Wireshark. Okay, great. Any other tools? Bubsuit. But you guys, you have used Bubsuit. Okay. So Wireshark is a packet sniffing tool. You can sniff HTTP packets and you can actually see it from Wireshark. But one problem with that is you cannot modify the traffic. You cannot modify the HTTP traffic which actually goes to the server. And the other problem is you cannot look at HTTPS based websites. So if the website is using SSL, then the traffic you would actually capture would be the encrypted traffic, and you cannot see the actual HTTP content that the browser sends. Bubsuit is a tool which can be used for looking at traffic between the server and the browser. Bubsuit is what you would call as an intercepting proxy. You guys have heard about proxies? Right? Okay. So I believe Amity University might probably have an internal proxy as well, which would block all the interesting parts of the internet like Facebook, Twitter, and so on, right? So so proxy is a device which basically sits between the browser and the server, and it kind of forwards traffic, right? An intercepting proxy is something which sits on your machine and it intercepts the traffic and it displays the traffic to you, and it even lets you modify this traffic before it is sent to the server. Okay. Burp is an intercepting proxy. It's one of the most popular tools available. The tool that I've written, IronWASP, has a built-in internet intercepting proxy as well. So I'll show you an example of that. So from the tool, I have open Google Chrome. So this is a very special instance of Google Chrome. Any traffic I browse from this instance of Google Chrome would automatically go through Iron Wasp. You do not have to go and configure the proxy settings. All of this is done internally by the software itself. So I'll go here, I'll log into the site. And if I go to my tool, now obviously nothing is clear on the projector, but I guess you can see something here, like a list of items. So these are all the HTTP logs which were generated by, or these were the HTTP traffic which was sent by the browser to the server, which has been captured by the tool. And if you actually try it out on your machine, you'll be able to see the individual, HTTP request which was sent by the browser and the HTTP response that came back from the server. And
जो session है, it is a talk. Actually, it's a talk on securing the digital world we have with Mr. Neeraj Poliwal from US, CEO, Cryptos.us, Silicon Valley, Stanford alumni. Can I have a huge round of applause for him? The next segment of the day, which is technical talk on fuzzing asynchronous protocols built over the web sockets. We have Mr. Lavkumar Kuppan, a well-known security researcher who has discovered new attacks and vulnerabilities in HTML5 and other browser technologies. Awarded the Black Shield Luminette Award for his work in the field of security. I would now like to call Mr. Kuppan on stage.